Hey guys, not brief, not overly long, but I guess an update. It's been a while since we've chatted. Last time we talked, I think I had some 3D printed ASL boards that I went over with you guys. We'll get to all that, but again, like I said, it's been a while. So what's been going on? Well, I guess I've been all right. Work scooting along. It is about I'm going on 7 months now with the new position, which has been exciting, fun, a wild ride, and that continues. What else? I've had pneumonia twice this year, um, so that's been odd. The second time I had pneumonia, and I have a theory. The cause of this is a number of things. It's not just germs or viral. I've always thought there was something in this house because that was making me ill. Because I don't even know that house is the right term for this place. As much charm as it has and fun to look at from the outside, it's really just a shed. No insulation, raised up off the ground, shotgun style house here in Louisiana. So, but my point is, it's so old. I'm almost certain there is mold growing in the walls or something going on. And in fact, I have rather, one, two, three window air conditioning units because this does not have central air. That's another issue. These window units barely keep up in the summer, which we are in the thick of it right now, probably the apex of the heat right now in July, hottest month of the year for us. And so I was sick the second time, and just on a whim, I thought I'm going to open up these window units. I've cleaned the filters. You can do that. You buy these, and it's built like that where you can take the filter in and out and clean it. But I never really went beyond that. So I thought, I'm going to see what's going on. I took the filter out and started messing around in there. And I started finding these it looks like black coffee grounds. It wasn't mud. It wasn't dirt. It wasn't coagulated dust that had accumulated over the months. It was, I guess, black mold. It was mold for sure, and I guess it was black mold. So I thought, well, that's not good. So I thought I would try and clean these, which I did my best with bleach water. And I hit the one in the I only I said I have three of these. I only really used two because this one in the middle, the table or the computer or something is always set up in its line of fire, and I worry about the humidity blowing on stuff because these things blow out a lot of humidity. So I really use this one, so I didn't mess with this one. But the front room and the bedroom, I cleaned them as best I could, or so I thought. And when I got done, I reached back further. I found another way to get back further in. I can't take these out of the window because the windows won't raise. We'll get to that too. This is why you tuned into the channel, right, to hear about my air conditioning debacle. Anyway, the windows won't raise, so I can't remove them from the window to pressure wash them or take a hose to them. So I reached back further through this other panel and I touch the fan blades and I run my fingers across one of the blades and I can feel stuff growing on the fan blades. So I'm like, that's it. I'm done. I'm not cleaning these. I've had it. And I have a bit of a panic moment. Now, mind you, I'm still sick. I shouldn't be doing this at all. I'm heavily medicated. I've just had a steroid shot at the doctor, an antibiotic shot. I'm on antibiotics. I've taken God knows how much over-the-counter stuff. And lack of sleep because I can't breathe right. But no, I decide I'm going to go get two new air conditioning units because can't breathe this stuff. So I drive to Home Depot and I text the landlord and I say, hey, there's mold growing in these things. They're beyond cleaning. I'm going to get two new ones. I'm paying for it, but anything you want to contribute financially is certainly welcome. So I left the ball in his court. I didn't make him feel obligated to pay anything. Well, these landlords these days are something else. Anyway, I find two beasts, two window unit beasts. These things are going to bring polar winds from the Arctic in here. And I buy them, take them to the car. They won't fit in the car. Well, I got a new car, right? It's the Nissan Sentra, not the old Pontiac Grand Prix, which was a big car. These things won't fit in it. I decided, well, I got to take it out of the box to fit them in there. And I'm still not getting it. These things are heavy as hell. And some guy comes along and he's like, you know, the parking lots these days, I don't know if that's where you're at, but where I'm at, the parking lots these days, Lowe's, Home Depot, what have you, you've got any number of people hanging out. Now this could be, pardon me for the term, but for lack of a better term, migrant workers waiting for work. You know, there may be somebody that has something that they need help with for a day or a week. Well, these people are hanging out waiting for that opportunity. They'll probably get paid cash. Done. They help each other. Boom. This goes on quite a lot. And then there's the homeless variety who go around and ask, do you need help putting that in your car? And you say yes, and then they help you, and then they're like, give me something, I helped you. Well, I know the drill, and some dude said, you need help? You know, he's watching me trying to get those in there. You need help with those? And I said, no, I got it. Thinking I had it, but I didn't. And I knew I was going to have to get it, and I said, I don't have any money. So he wanders off. But I'm not getting it, and this dude has wandered off. So I see a gentleman get in his truck, and I look at him, and I look at the window units, and I don't know if he's paying attention. I think he was on his phone. I go up to his 15-foot tall pickup truck with tinted windows. He's not responding. I tap on the window thinking, okay, this is the end of me. And finally he rolls down the windows and I go, look, I don't know if you're in a hurry or what, but I'm really having trouble getting these in there. I probably should have just went in and asked the staff, but remember, I'm medicated, I'm not thinking clearly. I said, can you help me get these in there? And he looked at them and paused for what seemed like way too long to pause based on the question I put forth. And he said, no, and drove off. So I go back to my car. I'm trying to think how I can get these in there. It doesn't ever occur to me to go back inside and have a staff member help. But another one of these parking lot dudes, homeless dudes, comes by and he goes, you need help with that? And I'm like, dude, I ain't got any money. I have nothing to give you. He's like, I don't want money. He's like, I've just got nothing to do. I said, well, yes, I need help. So he comes over. He gets one side, I get the other. We get one in the back seat behind the driver's side. We get one in the other back seat behind the passenger side. And no, I didn't have cash, but I was so thankful he helped me. I said, look, man, I don't have cash to give you, but I can go back in and buy you a drink or something, because they got, you know, the cooler or whatever. You can get sodas, Red Bull, Gatorade. He's like, and just give me a big bag of the cheese popcorn stuff. I'm like, I don't know what the hell that is, but yes, I will go back in and look for a big bag of cheese popcorn at Home Depot and bring that to you, which I did find, and brought it to him. So off I go with these window units. I get home, it starts raining, and I can't wait for the rain to stop. So I carry each one in the house, and these things are heavy. And it was all I could do to get these in the house. And it was like the last step with the last air conditioner that I brought in. I almost didn't make it. If I would have had to go one more step, I think I'd have been done. So now it's get the old window units out so I can put the new ones in, right? Well, get the old ones out does not turn out to work the way it's supposed to. Get the old ones out entail breaking the side panels that stretch open or closed to close the gap, because here's the window unit, right? But then the window itself extends further sideways because they're not that width-wise that long. Can't get it out. Those break off, and I'm jiggling back and forth, and the window won't raise because the house is so old. And it's not that, it looks like the window's been painted shut, which is initially what I thought. But that's not the issue. I followed the, I don't know terminology here. The window frame that the window goes up and down in is wood. And I'm looking at it, and there's the window and then a gap probably this much on each side at the bottom. But as you go up, that slot that the window goes up and down in is closed shut, so it physically cannot go any further. And well, it can't go a millimeter higher for me to get the window out to put the new one in. So I'm like, what do I do? I text the landlord, and I'm like, I'm having trouble getting these in. Any ideas? The window won't go up. Of course, I've still yet to hear from the landlord at this point. This is standard. So then I call my stepdad, ask if he has any ideas. He doesn't really have any ideas either. So I think, well, I guess all I can do is take these back and exchange them for a smaller size. I mean, that's what has to happen here. Meanwhile, I've left the boxes in the because I didn't think I'd need them. And I thought, how the hell am I going to exchange these with no box? Those boxes are not going to still be there. So I lugged these things back into the car. Meanwhile, I don't know if you're familiar with window AC units, but they have like that part that sits on the outside. It has like a grill. They're almost like tiny metal fish gills. And if you touch those are sharp and you're going to cut your hand. Well, I did. My hand was like raw hamburger by the time I got done getting these from Home Depot into the car, into the house, back into the car. Drive back to Home Depot. I see the cart that I lugged them to my car on, but no boxes. Lugged them out of the car by myself. Everybody's gone. And by this point, my whole left hand is just dripping blood from the fish gills of these window AC units. So I'm pulling the cart with no boxes and my hand bleeding into Home Depot. Well, right before I get in there, I guess one of the workers had seen those boxes and grabbed them and pulled them near the entrance to, I guess, be thrown away at some point. Well, there they were, so I picked those up. I walk in Home Depot with my bleeding left hand and two fairly beat up by this point window units. And I go in and I said, I need to exchange these. And the lady's like, yeah, well, maybe we should take care of your hand first. And I can't argue with that, so we do. And she's very helpful. And then I start telling her it's the wrong size. It's my fault. It's not you guys. And she says, do you know which one do you want to exchange them for? And I say, yes. But by this point, I'm thinking, I'm done with this. The landlord needs to do this. He needs to buy these and install them, not me. I'm done with this. How do I get them to just do a refund? Well, she does. I don't know. I don't know what was going through her mind. If I was her, I wouldn't have exchanged or refunded them, even though I just bought them. These things were beat to hell for me, like I said, lugging them around. But she did, and she saw their state, and, the boxes that were hacked up to get them out of. And I told her, I said I had to take them out of the boxes to get them in the car, but she does. She puts the money back on my card, and I start walking towards the other window units, and I thought, nope, not happening. I'm out of here. I got my money back. I'm done. I had a moment of clarity. Come home, and I told the landlord, hey, I returned these things. I tried. I give up. It's up to you to get a couple new ones and install them. I've had it, essentially. Well, he does, bless his heart. It wasn't that day. It wasn't even the next day, but I think after 3 or 4 days, he finally had 2 of them brought over and 2 guys install them, and they were wonderful and nice and blah, blah, blah. So that was the window AC debacle. So now I only did the 2 of them because I thought there's no way he replaces all 3. Let's not push your luck. Let's just get 2 of them replaced. And like I said, I don't really use the middle one anyway, so there's that. That was the AC debacle. That was lots of fun. But otherwise, going back to work, which I mentioned briefly, I don't know if you can see. Yeah, you can. I'm not going to mess with the camera because I just don't feel like it. But this extends from off camera here. Just tons of paints. And I don't know who ordered these or why, but We have a painting thing at where I work in that teen tech center. And kids come in and they paint, but usually they paint on canvases and stuff like that. I've been there, like I said, 6-7 months. I've never seen anybody use these. I don't know that they even know that they exist or what they're for. But when I saw them, I thought, oh my God. Well, last week, I asked my coworker, the director, I said, look, can I bring these home and use some of these if I bring them back? And she said, yes. So that's what I've been doing. We'll get to that as well. What else? We're funded by Best Buy. It's a maker space for teens, and we kind of mentor them. And each year we get money to purchase things. Well, we just did a big purchase order and actually ordered some board games. I ordered Return to Dark Tower, which we set up and played and watched a video on how to play, and all while on the clock, because this is our job. We have to know how to play this thing so we can play with the kids. So that was awesome. What else? I think we got Wingspan and Sagrada. What else? Mice and Mystics. Sagrada and Mice and Mystics, both games I already own and love. And so I thought, that would be maybe a good bet for the teens. And some other stuff, and just gobs and gobs and gobs and gobs of other things. Like a gigantic, huge Lego Tyrannosaurus Rex for kids to build, and a gigantic, huge Bandai mech warrior robot thing, that all that stuff that kids like to build, and it's quite amazing, really, all the stuff we got. Speaking of air conditioning, I haven't even been able to work at my library where the tech center is because our air conditioning is going out. So I've been farmed out to other branches, so there's that as well. That's been interesting and fun. Also found out I'm not the biggest when it comes to travel, but because of this new job, I'll be traveling every year. But this year I have to do 3 separate sojourns, 1 to Boston, 1 to Minnesota, and 1 to Arizona, and it's all work related. So yes, I'll be getting paid, but not to get into it now, but it's difficult for me to be out of my comfort space where I live with the cat and the things, and but no, I'll live. It'll be good for me. I already talked about ASL on 3D boards, so I haven't talked to you in a while. Obviously, I did set up and play through, I think, 1.5 ASL scenarios with the ASL boards, which was fine and dandy. It worked just great. And then got bored with that. Well, then I delved briefly, ever so briefly, back into some Napoleonic stuff. I had a old school tactical map set up, if memory serves, with the Perry Miniatures Travel Battles naps on that. Tore that down. Set up the custom Napoleon's Triumph printout board that I did that's humongous. 8.5 by 11, like 75 sheets of it. Pieced all that together and set it up, and I didn't even think I have anything set up on it, but broke that down, didn't even play anything on it. It didn't play anything on the old school tactical board either. This is how I do. Set things up, not feeling it, tear it down. And then worked my way back around to the D&D stuff, the Middle-earth strategy battle game figures, and that's where we're at now. So what I did was went back and did, you can find this on the internet printed out. So no, I didn't pay for it. The BECMI, they call it, the BECMI, Basic Expert Companion, what is it, Master? Is that the other one? And Immortal BECMI, or Bex, or Moldvay. Do they also call this the Moldvay version? Well, anyway, this is the after Advanced Dungeons and Dragons came out. TSR, was this TSR at this point? Yes. They decided they needed to come out with something a little more digestible for new players, and did this. So I printed that out, been working through that a bit, and in fact, if I can get this, I found, I don't know if you'll remember these. I do. These solo adventure modules. I ran through this one. Now, if you'll notice here, it has a pin that you would go through, and as you go through, it gives you options, and then the option you choose, you use that magic ink pen, they call it, invisible ink pen, and fill in the box, and it tells you what happens. Well, obviously we can't do this because it was printed off the internet. And so they just have each box already revealed. But no problem, you just carefully go through and make sure you don't reveal something too early. I used a sheet of paper and kept things covered as I went. But I have to say, I had a lot of fun. In fact, I'm inspired to host a couple of my friends such that I can play the Dungeon Master and run them through this. I did a first level, so this is for levels 1 to 3, and I did a first level thief and ran through with some companions. I think I was responsible for at least one of their deaths. I almost died. I was down to like 1 hit point left, and one of those companions healed me. Bottom line is I ended up with some gold, some gems, and 500 experience points, and I need 1,200 total to level up to level 2. That's where I stand. I haven't done anything since. I have another solo D&D module, which is the Maze of the Riddling Minotaur. But also there's a very basic dungeon module and the basic rules that you can run through, so I'm kind of teeter-tottering on which to go first. So I may do the one in the basic rule set, because this is now the basic rules, they say they're basic, and they are. But my lord, this is extremely basic if you go through this. It really only had, like, if you encounter something, you really only roll one time, and it tells you what happens. They're extremely basic, but I still had fun. It was really cool. And then that brings us to new acquisitions. What did I get? So what I had was, I've got a number of things off camera here. Good armies and evil armies for Lord of the Rings. And the Warriors of Rohan, I ordered because they just came out with this new Battle of Edoras stuff to go with the animated film, which I tried to watch and couldn't finish it. That doesn't mean it's bad. It means there's probably something wrong with me. I could not finish the thing. I don't know. It was not entertaining enough. I just lost interest. So I ordered these new Warriors of Rohan figures, and of course they look great, but I'm used to the older version, the older Middle-earth, and this is Games Workshop, mind you. Yeah, I know, they suck you dry money-wise. This is an example of one of those guys, Warrior of Rohan, which you can't see. What if I put him here? You can't see him there either. You can't see him anywhere. Well, use your imagination. I get these and I open them up, and the sprues, it looks like there's thousands. Now there's only a dozen of these things in a box. But the number of pieces that they've managed to come up with that you have to glue together for these things is ungodly. And I understand why they did it, because it adds detail if you do it this way. It wasn't so you can add variation to each figure, like with, say, the Warlord Games Napoleonic stuff. This was just to get more detail, period. So I did like 3 or 4 of them, and I ran out of steam. I thought, this is beyond ridiculous for what this is, just a single guy with like 15 pieces to put together for the single figure. I just burned myself out. Well, then I went online and I thought, well, I still want to do the Warriors of Rohan, but I found an older version, so I ordered that. So I essentially have 2 versions of the same thing. The older version came in, and for the love of God, it was wonderful. It was like 3 pieces to glue together for each figure. Now, granted, there's not as much detail, but it's detailed enough for me. So put those together, and then looked at the sprue of stuff I hadn't finished with the highly detailed ones, and ended up finishing them anyway. So now I have 2 Warriors of Rohan, the likes of which I don't know which to use. Then we have, I ordered the Haleth and Hama. Again, I'd love to show you. Let's try it one more time. Haleth and Hama. This is Hama. Does that show up at all? I don't think it does. I keep turning around because the screen is back here. What a mess. I'm sorry, guys. I'll have to set this up better. I have access to way better digital cameras I could film with at work and borrow. I haven't broken the ice with that yet. There's going to be a learning curve there, and I'm not ready to go down that road yet. So I got Haleth and Hama, who are also both come mounted on a steed, and I picked up God, I wish these would show up, because I'm really proud of these. King of the Dead, Warriors of the Dead. Does that show up? No, it doesn't. What a mess. I don't even know why I'm bothering. Can't see anything. What about if I do this? Does that work? Maybe a little bit. It's the blending and of the paints is what I like the most, I think. I really apologize for the awfulness of the not being able to see it. But trust me on this. He looks cool. So I did them all that scheme, and I think I used, it was the paints that I borrowed from work that made this possible. And I used on those guys primarily Elemental Bolt. Now these are all the Army Painter paints. I won't use the Citadel paints because I already have a ton of Army. Well, they're the Vallejo, which is essentially the same thing, right? The ones I own are Vallejo. These are Army Painter. I don't need stupid Citadel paints. It would be easier if I did because it tells you which colors to use. But then again, why do they have to look exactly the same as what they tell you they should look? So that takes half the fun out. In fact, I don't know if I would call it fun. And painting Napoleonic stuff, has its own kind of satisfaction, but you're limited to the historicity of what you're painting, right? This is supposed to be more liberating. You paint these, just shoot the moon, Paint them how you want to paint them. And that's kind of what I did. So, painted those guys up. I painted the, I'm not even going to get them because it's not going to show up on camera. I painted the 9 ring wraiths that I purchased. Again, kind of proud of those because I didn't just paint them black. I was able to dry brush and get some of the folds of the capes to shine like they're supposed to and come out. So painted those up, and then I just finished the 3 hunters, they call them, and Gandalf. So this is Gandalf. Again, the challenge is this big robe he has, to make it look not just like one solid color when you paint it, but to blend other colors into it and shade and dry brush and all that, which I feel like I accomplished. It may not come out on camera, but take my word for it. And then we have Strider. It works better with the white paper for some reason. Strider, right? Maybe. Got all the light here, and then so if I put the light here, it washes out. And oh Lord, what is it? Gimli, the dwarf, he's got 1 axe in hand, 1 axe on his back, an axe on his belt, and I think 2 axes on his belt. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 axes. I actually think I missed an axe that broke or something. Speaking of which, this son of a gun, Hama, oh my God, what a nightmare this guy was. His bow broke, which meant once something like that small breaks, right, you're going to spend however much time gluing it back together 15 more times before you get it because, fiddling with it, painting with it. you're going to hit it again. The arrow broke. I couldn't get the arrow right again. What I ended up using, because I didn't have another arrow to glue in place of the broken arrow that he has knocked on his bow. Why did that just die? There we go. And so what I used was a spear from my samurai armies that I have that I don't mess with as his arrow. So that guy was a complete nightmare to put together. And then Legolas, which I'm actually using, I can't think of his name now, but he's a black-haired elf. Well, I made him Legolas. And I added the arrows and the bow did not come with him, but I wanted him to have the bow, so I added that from something else, and I feel like it came out pretty good. So that's my version of Legolas. So there's the 4 primaries. I probably won't do the hobbits. There's Boromir that I could do possibly at some point. But here's the deal. I have messed around with the Middle-earth strategy battles games rules and done a few combats with them, and I dig them enough. But the whole goal here is to run through dungeons, so I really only need a maximum 4 painted dudes, arguably 5, or arguably just 1, to run through a dungeon, right? What I really need to be painting is, now that I've finished that, is all the orcs and goblins and trolls and a balrog and wolves, or wargs as you would call them, to represent the enemies I'll run into in these dungeons. So yes, I'm using MESBG figures, but it doesn't necessarily have to be, for me, an MESBG Miller strategy battle game setting. Again, my intention was always to just do dungeon crawl type stuff. I had been at one point working on my own rules, a module, a setting to have friends run through and get feedback on it. I never finished that. I may jump back into that at some point. And it was good that I didn't try and finish it then, because again, my experience with high fantasy, Dungeons and Dragons, etc. is somewhat limited. So I would be better served to just play this stuff and gain a little more experience before I try and get creative with my own version of something. I think that's just common sense. But that's where we're at right now. Up next, again, I think I'll focus on some goblins and a troll. I'll want to batch paint these goblins, probably spray them with, if not black, something close to that, and then just slop on there as such that I can make them look as much of a sewer-like color, I've decided, as I can. Something that literally crawled out of a sewer. These things shouldn't be a pretty green, or goblin green or whatever. These things should look nasty and filthy. So that's my goal there. Even the armor, plate, chain, whatever they may have, should be gross and crud infested and rusty. So that should be easy and speedy enough to accomplish. The troll probably shouldn't be too much trouble either. So there we are. There's an update on everything I've been up to. The cat's been fine, blah, blah, blah. I've missed you guys. We don't chat as much as we used to, but, I have a comment section below this video, below every video. Anything that you want to share or ask, let me know. I always respond. So yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching, guys. I'm going to cut you loose. And take care.